Welcome back to Bayou Time. We promised you a few months ago we'd start bringing experts in different fields to come on, and tonight we have Dr. Satish Arora with the Advanced Eye Institute. And Dr. Quinn Fago has done a great job of developing that institution and bringing in a lot of experts to talk about and teach about a lot of different things, and Dr. Arora is doing that tonight. All the phone lines are lit. I know you have questions. A couple more from me. We were talking about floaters. We were talking about, matter of fact, young man working the camera said during the break, he's seen the squigglies and the floaters. What are floaters?
Well, we've all got them. As I was telling your friend, there are some of us who aren't as aware of them or don't notice them as much, or maybe have more or less. But every last one of us has them. And earlier we talked about the vitreous gel, the gel that fills most of the eye. And over time, that gel tends to break down. And as it breaks down, it'll form clumps of debris within it. And it's that debris that we see moving around in there. It's that debris that we actually see as those squiggly lines, or sometimes dots, sometimes smudges. Different people will see different things.
And it's sort of like a double pane window that has pollen in the middle of it, and it just obscures the view.
To a degree, that's exactly right. Now, the nice thing with floaters is that in most cases they don't obscure your view. They can be distracting, but they usually don't obscure the view. There are some people who have enough floaters or thick enough floaters that they do in fact blur up the vision though.
Okay. I told you during the break, I can't remember the exact year, but I was in my 30s. I'm broadcasting a basketball game. My vision starts to go completely wacko. I started getting flickering lights that took my peripheral vision out, and eventually took most of my vision out. Never had one before, didn't know what was going on, and went to my eye doctor. He says, "You're having a migraine attack." I said, "Doc, I'm not having a headache. I was going blind." He said, "You're having a migraine attack." He explained that, because a lot of people get them.
Sure. Well, there are different kinds of migraines, and what most of us think of when we think of a migraine is a severe headache where you can't stand to be around light, and oftentimes you're nauseated along with some other symptoms. And a lot of those migraines are preceded by the kind of visual symptoms that you described, and we call that classic migraine, and we call the visual symptoms aura. And that's a different story. Now, what you suffered was, in fact, a retinal migraine or an ocular migraine. And it's a similar phenomenon in that we believe it involves nerve tissue within the brain. The difference is that there is almost never a headache associated with an ocular or a retinal migraine. They typically last, in most people, about 10 to 15 minutes, and then they go away. And almost never do any of the vision changes persist, although it can happen in very rare cases.
And it's funny, I have a bunch of friends that have the same thing. We all have different ways that we combat it. I take 3 ibuprofen or Excedrin migraine. I put ice on my temple, and it knocks it out pretty quick. Others do different things. So you have to find out what's right for you, don't you?
Sure. And then there are other things that we know can trigger migraines, particularly migraine headaches. And if you look at the list of things that can trigger a migraine headache, it includes just about everything, from chocolate and coffee to various foods and bright lights or bright sounds. And so, just like you said, you have to figure out what it is that relates to yours and what it is that works to get rid of.
It's funny because see all these lights we have in the studio don't bother me because they're quartz. Put me in front of fluorescent, or if somebody takes a picture and it's a quick change of light, there goes the migraine. So, so everything can be a trigger.
That's correct.
We live in a trigger-laden world, don't we? All right, let's do this. Let's take some phone calls from the public. I know you're trying to get some questions in, so keep your questions to eye care tonight, and then we'll try to help you out. HTV, welcome to the program tonight. Go ahead, please.
Am I on the air?
You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I would like to say a good evening, Mr. Folse and Dr. Arora there. And I'd like to give you some advice, Mr. False. Quit buying those drugstore glasses. It's much better.
You want me to spend a little more money, huh?
I've just had cataract surgery, as you know. I told you about it. And,
Yeah, you did.
Now, you say a floater. Something come across my right eye, just like a feather. It looks like there's something white. Are floaters black, or can they be white?
They can absolutely be different colors. Most people describe black or gray, but there are some people who describe a white floater, or even in some cases red floaters, although those are often associated with bleeding within the eye. But absolutely, if you're seeing a white feather in there, that could well be what we meant by a floater.
It could, like a white feather go across your eye, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Okay. And I notice now when I bring up reading closer to my eyes, I had to put it farther away. I used to couldn't read farther away, but since I had the eye surgery, the cataract removed, when I bring it up, it kind of put a strain on, like it was a strain on my eyes, or it could lead to a headache or something like that.
Okay.
Are you following me?
So cataract, when he had his cataract removed, does it change?
It changes the prescription in your eyes, and that's something that you can discuss with your cataract surgeon if there's a particular type of prescription you're aiming for. For instance, if you're looking to be able to read without glasses or to drive without glasses, and certainly your cataract surgeon can attempt to make that happen at the time.
Oh yes, I can see better now. Don't get me wrong. I'm just I haven't talked. I got to talk with him later on. I just happened to turn on the TV and you was on, so I said I asked you some questions. So I wanted to ask him.
There you go. Well, thank you.
But anyway, and I said something else you said. Quit drinking that coffee. And that tell Mr. False that too, because he invited me to drink some coffee.
Yeah, come drink some coffee. I was worried about you. I hadn't heard from you in a while.
All right, you have a blessed day. I really enjoying this show
Thank
here.
you.
And I'm up in Tennessee listening to this show now. I'm not seeing you all at all.
You're on the internet, huh?
And I appreciate them. They let me hold the phone and listen to the conversation. It's really been a great help and give me some information.
All right, thank you for
very
calling.
much.
Appreciate it. HTV, welcome to Bayou Time. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Martin.
Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Martin, this is Roy.
Hey, Raw, how you doing?
Pretty good. I had a pinhole in. I have a pinhole in the retina. Anything that you can do for that to make it any better?
Well, I can't do anything, but I'm going to ask Dr. Aurora to do
but the doctor.
I know, I'm just picking on him. What can Roy do?
It depends on the case. It depends on where the hole is. Are you talking about a hole in the center of the retina? If so, sometimes it can be fixed with a surgical procedure. It just depends on how far along it is and how large it is. And that's
Mr. Roy, any location of that hole?
I tell you the truth, I can see through it at times. It depends how the sun is shining and what I'm looking at. But the doctor told me in New Orleans, I've been having that about 25, 30 years now.
So he can actually see through the pinhole?
I was just sitting on looking at the television, and the eye blinked out. Mm-hmm. Now it came back, but I can't see it really as good as the other one. But he told me never let a doctor touch it because nothing that you can do for it.
Right. Is he right or wrong there?
Well, I'd have to see it to know for sure.
Right.
It depends on what the case is. As I said, some of those holes, if they've been there long enough or if they're large enough, then surgery's not going to help them. Also, if it's not truly a hole but more of a scar, then too, surgery is probably not going to help it. But if it is a moderate-sized or a small-sized hole in the macula, then surgery could very well possibly
And I'll
help.
ask him, but what's he seeing? He's seeing just in his vision there's a little pinhole?
Well, that's what I think he's telling us.
Is that what you're seeing, Mr. Roy? You're seeing a pinhole?
No, what I'm saying, when this happened to me, I was looking at television.
All right.
And all of a sudden, it just blanked, and I had no more eyesight in that eye. And then about 10 minutes later, I had sight. So after that, I consulted a doctor over here, and he sent me to New Orleans. And the doctor told me in New Orleans, don't let nobody touch it because you cannot see any better.
All right. So he blanked out for about 10 minutes, he said.
Okay.
I could go blind from it.
Okay.
Well, that sounds like it could potentially be a circulation issue, perhaps a blockage of one of the arteries or veins in the back of the eye. And if that's the case, and it's been there for 25 years, then it may be that no procedure will help it. But again, the only way to know for sure is to look at it.
Okay. Mr. Raw, did we answer your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, and thank you, Martin.
All right, thank you. Appreciate your calling. HTV, welcome to Bayou Time. Your question for the good doc tonight.
Yes, is that me?
Yeah, that's you. Go ahead.
Yes, I had a bleeding in the back of my eye, and the doctor did laser on it. After he did laser, I have an area where I lost the vision, and he told me it would come back in about 2 months. It didn't, and he wants to do laser on it again, and I'm a little leery about it now.
Okay. Doc?
That's understandable. Depending on the cause of the bleeding, that's what's going to determine the location of what has to be lasered. And if the bleeding is near the center of your vision but outside the center of your vision, sometimes you are aware of where the laser was done. And that's not always the case, but sometimes it is. That said, in many cases with that kind of bleeding, if the laser is not done, there's a risk of losing far more vision than you would have lost with the laser. So in most cases, it's a good idea to go ahead with the laser. Now, if the bleeding is too close to the center of the vision, then there are other treatments that are going to be more effective and that are less likely to scar or to produce other problems down the road. So the most important thing to determine is where's the location of the bleeding. But again, as I was saying, the most likely reason that your doctor is recommending the laser is because the vision loss will be worse without the laser than it will be with it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you for calling. We're going to take a short break, pay a few bills. We're going to come back. All the lines are lit up. I knew that people would want to talk about the eyes. It's such an important issue. We'll take a break. We'll come back. I want to remind everybody that also Dr. Chris Saul is going to be on to talk about oral cancer tonight in our To Your Health with Terrebonne General Medical segment. Nichols tonight is going to bring on Larry Howell, the Executive Vice President. That's all coming up next in Sports with Stan Gravois, but more with the good doc. Don't go away. We're talking about eyes tonight here on Bayou Time.